I don't know, but I'll try.
All right, thank you.
My name is Marshall Long. I'm with Sherman Oaks Homeowners Organization. I live at 14718 Valley Vista Boulevard, Sherman Oaks. Need a phone or anything?
Just go on.
Okay.
2 minutes.
As Jerry said, the Encino Neighborhood Council came forward with no recommendation. The Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, on an early vote, had a tie vote on the project. The tie was broken by Mr. Ziff, who voted for the project. A later vote to deny the project was a tie vote, and so the earlier decision held. So in both cases, Encino and Sherman Oaks, tie votes were the last vote that was taken. The IBT project is 100 feet high with a floor area ratio of 2.75 and severely violates the Ventura Boulevard specific plan limits that were meant to protect neighborhoods against massive development. Why is the city considering such divisive variances to the specific plan? The developer is not asking for 10% variances, but 33% more height and 83% more floor area than allowed by law. And Bob Anderson, also with the homeowners, will go through in more detail on the traffic. My particular field is acoustics and noise. Due to the proximity of the project site to 2 freeways and a major boulevard, the existing noise environment is quite loud. Almost the entire residential structure will extend above the existing traffic barriers and thus will be exposed to unshielded noise. Based on measurements published in the EIR, CNEL levels expected to impact the towers will be on the order of 78 dB CNEL. Our own measurements taken on the 6th floor of the parking lot yielded 80 dB CNEL. Now, this measurement location is not as close as the project to the 101 freeway, so it may indeed be higher. The EIR represents the City of LA CEQA threshold guide to determine impact. This guide sets a limit level of 70 dB CNEL, above which multifamily residential projects are deemed clearly unacceptable. The guide defines clearly unacceptable as requiring that new construction or development should generally not be undertaken. Thus, Los Angeles CEQA threshold guide prohibits residential buildings in these high noise levels. The EIR standard instead points out that the City of LA does not have standards on allowable levels on balconies. The EIR as a mitigation recommends that a study be undertaken to ensure that interior levels are no more than 45 dB CNEL. This requirement has been a state mandated standard for all multifamily dwellings since 1974. It includes requirements on the construction of walls and floor ceilings. Unfortunately, in the 39 years that it has been in effect, and recently as part of the building department, the Los Angeles City Building Department has never enforced the state law or the building code in this regard, and is unlikely to enforce it for this project. Even if the city suddenly decided to enforce it, there is no one in the city capable of judging the accuracy of an acoustical report, as they have never enforced it in the past. The EIR estimates the impact of changes on traffic-generated noise due to the project and other projects in the area would be 1.8 dB. This compares the City of LA standard for determination of impact on street traffic of 3 dB and indicates that there is no significant impact. The 3 dB threshold for finding of an impact is an unusually high standard. Indeed, in the same document, the standard for aircraft noise is a change of 1.5 dB. The threshold of impact in standard text specs is usually set to 1 dB. A 3 dB change in traffic requires a 100% increase in traffic on a given street. It does not take much common sense to figure that many people would react negatively well before the traffic reached 100% increase. A 1 dB increase in noise is generated by a 26 dB or 26% increase in traffic.
If you can please conclude.
I urge you to deny the project in the EIR.
Thank you very much. You have interesting comments. Let me just tell you that the city relies on acoustical licensed engineers.
Let me interrupt. There are no acoustically licensed engineers in the state of California.
Well, we follow certain procedures, but your comments are very interesting.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well,
We will look into that.
They were written to and sent in to you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we have Brad Torgan.
My name is Brad Torgan. I'm here on behalf of an ad hoc residence group called Sherman Oaks Residents for a Safe Environment. My address is 927 Kings Road, West Hollywood. Please let the record note I submitted extensive comments to Mr. Hedrick's last
So
week.
is 3 minutes enough for you?
Oh, it'll be enough.
All right. Thank you.
But the project, even reduced, is still a textbook example of trying to stuff 10 pounds of rocks into a 2-pound bag. This is apparent from the number of exceptions needed for the project and the inconsistency of the project with the relevant community and specific plans. Sorry. Okay. Beyond that, there are three issues in particular I'd like to raise, mostly surrounding transportation and circulation. The errors and omissions of the transportation analysis are well documented in the report attached to my letter, but I'd like to address some of the more egregious traffic problems that the project creates. It's not just a matter of too much traffic, it's a matter of creating dangerous situations. Adjacent to the project site, within about 200 feet of the Camarillo-Sepulveda intersection, are the entrance to the motel and an alley which leads to the parking for the grand apartments. The circulation analysis doesn't account for these. The situation likely to arise, especially during peak hour, is that the stacking of cars headed east on Camarillo will block those entrances. Vehicles trying to turn left off of Camarillo into the motel parking or into the alley won't be able to do so, actually backing up cars into the intersection, creating a hazardous situation that the EIR doesn't address. There's a similar problem with the Camarillo exit to the retail portion of the project. Stacking of cars on Camarillo will prevent vehicles heading eastbound out of the project, backing up cars into the parking structure, again creating a hazardous situation unidentified in the EIR. It seems apparent from the EIR and the conceptual site plan that all commercial truck traffic is going to have to exit south on the fire lane to eastbound Camarillo in order to get out of the project site. This is based on the angle of the loading dock and the expectation that northbound traffic will not be allowed from the fire lane across from the freeway on-ramp. That means all commercial truck traffic will have to use a 2-lane, 28-foot wide fire lane with an 8-story building on one side and a 26-foot sound wall on the other. We question the wisdom and safety of such a layout. We also question whether there is an adequate safe turning radius from the fire lane onto Camarillo, from the fire lane onto eastbound Camarillo for commercial truck traffic. The EIR incorrectly says there is no significant impact to parking and does so through a little sleight of hand. The analysis first says there's enough parking by using city apartment parking standards. But since he's using a track map to ultimately condo the building, if he so chooses, you have to use the condo standards, which are higher. The EIR then goes to say, well, we did use the condo standards, but what it doesn't tell you is it doesn't exceed the city requirements. It gives you the bare minimum for on-site project requirements. It doesn't account for the 20 to 30 parking spaces that will be lost on street parking as far away as Haskell and Ventura, which is a result of the mitigation, plus the off-street parking that's traditionally been used on Peach and Lomeda. I'd like to point out the city tried a similar approach with a project called Hollywood Gower in project last year. When that project was challenged in court, it lost, and it lost badly over the issue of whether or not it could use condo versus apartment standards in a project such as this. During much of the discussions with the neighborhood councils and in response to EIR comments, there were great pains taken to say the project was not seeking any variances when someone used exceptions and variances interchangeably. If it walks like a variance, talks like a variance, smells like a variance, it's a variance. The language of exception and variances in the code and in the specific plan are virtually identical and have virtually the same standards. The only functional difference is one applies to deviations from the code, and what applies to deviations from the specific plan. I and my clients urge the recommendation going forward to not certifying the EIR and reject the project in its current form.
Thank you very much. The following people will be allowed to make a...
I represent a community group too.
Are you against the project?
I am against the project.
Okay, do you have a speaker card?
Yes, I do.
What is your name?
Elliot Cohen, and I represent the ad hoc.
Okay, will you please come forward?
Yes.
You'll have 3 minutes if that's enough. Please state your name, your address, the association you represent, and then you have 3 minutes.
Thank you for hearing me. I want to thank the developer for publishing the final EIR. In it, there's some very good truth in it that we should all pay attention to here. Why we shouldn't consider this document here to be honest and ethical is basically on page IVK.18. The developers, consultants say traffic volumes reflect conservative conditions. And they go on to relate some related projects may implement traffic reduction programs. Traffic usage, transit usage may increase. The effect of internal trip linkages and pass-bys and diverted trips have not been credited. So therefore, we're going to use, and this is again on page IVK-18, the figures that are could be substantially less than analyzed. And they put pages and pages and pages of traffic documents in here. And then they decide to analyze this using the most conservative figures and adding 2% a year to the traffic volumes, when they themselves admit these may be erroneous figures. In tables in their document, IV.K through 6, which they say with and without project construction traffic conditions, they show on their tables that 27 of the intersections that they study get an F for traffic flow. The worst possible traffic conditions are already existing on this. Another 13 of the intersections they study get an E, the second worst traffic conditions here. Out of the 78 boxes in their traffic tables, over 50% of the intersections they study, by their own admission, get the 2 worst gradings, E and F, for bad traffic. It is not credible to think that 5,844 net daily new car trips, see page 105-22, Appendix H, will make congestion less. The developer has touted that the bus system has somehow going to save us and create additional traffic savings here. But on page IV.K-40, their own consultants admit that there will be no more than 3.5% of the new trips generated by the project would use mass transit. In conclusion, their conclusions on page IVK.50, they say the traffic models utilized above in the analysis incorporate cumulative traffic increases due to the ambient growth and the 51 related projects identified in Section 3, environmental setting of the draft EIR. Their cumulative impacts on intersections and freeways and systems have been analyzed and incorporated. As concluded with the relative discussions above, prior to mitigation, the project would result in significant impacts on 11 intersections. Again, on page IVK.50, their document. And in total, it is included that the project would result in significant and unavoidable impacts at 5 intersections, even if all the mitigation measures are determined to be feasible or alternative measures of equivalent effectiveness are provided. So therefore, Matrix Environmental, who did this wonderful document here, is telling us the system is already clogged beyond belief And when this project is completed, there is nothing they can do to mitigate the traffic, so let us build it anyway.
All right, thank you very much for your comment. Please provide that to Nick. That will be very helpful. The following persons will be allowed to speak only 1 minute, so I'm going to mention a 3 or 4, and you start, getting in line. Lisa Petrus, Elaine Shapiro. Wayne William, and Miss Jenny Lager Hansen. Okay, say your name, your address, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Lisa Petrus. I live at 4635 Lamona Avenue, which is directly east of this project. And I'm talking on behalf of the residents of Lamona Avenue. I had a petition signed that's been handed in. I went to all of my neighbors, and without exception, every single person I spoke to was against this project at the scale it is. We are more than happy to have developers come into our community and do their work, but we ask them to be fair and to abide by the laws of the community. I gave you a little map of the area, and you will see currently the first 7 blocks east of that project have speed bumps, stop signs in every corner, restricted right-hand turns. We have a serious, serious problem with traffic in our little neighborhood, and we just cannot take an additional 2 million cars a year through there. It's just impossible. And Camarillo cannot have speed bumps because it is a fire access route. I spoke to the fire department, and that is their safety rep to get through there. I don't know where they're going to go with all these cars. So please, please, be fair about this. And all these people who are for this project don't even live in our neighborhood. It's not going to impact them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Elaine?
I am a resident.
Say your name and your address.
My name is Elaine Shapiro. I live at 4520 Dempsey Avenue in Encino 91436. I've lived there for over 40 years, and I'm a couple of blocks away from Ventura and Sepulveda Boulevard, which at this time I avoid at all costs because of the traffic congestion that already exists there. If anyone has gotten off the 101 freeway at Haskell Boulevard and or Ventura Boulevard, many times, most of the times, you find the cars stacked up one after another almost all the way to Ventura Boulevard. So adding another 1,200 parking spaces, which I'm assuming will be cars, is not going to help or solve our traffic problems, in essence, just adding to them. And frankly, we do not need another grocery store. We have Vaughn's and Ralph's within a few blocks of Ventura and Sepulveda, so that doesn't excite me at all in any way. And a public walking area doesn't help me in any way. Please reject this project, make it within the standards that have been set up, and protect our neighborhood and our residents. Thank you very much for listening.
Wayne Williams.
My name is Wayne Williams. I'm a resident of Sherman Oaks, 15423 Sutton Street. Our community just south of Ventura Boulevard just lost 7 homes, and our properties are being inundated by a widened freeway. We are being squeezed out because this city is absolutely failing to abide by the specific plan, and you are setting a precedent. If you approve this plan beyond the specific plan, you cannot do that. There were laws and regulations established for a decent size amount of growth in this city, and this project is fantasy land. And let me tell you, I used to work shooting for Disney, taking lots of pictures, and I know what fantasy looks like. That's it. That's not within the specific plan. It needs to be within the specific plan, and anything beyond the specific plan is money going into somebody's pocket to push this thing, whether it's forcing you guys to be here over and over and over again to hear these things or not. This has got to stop.
Thank you very much. Larry Hansen, and then Andy Speakerman, Sheila Sway, and Jeffrey McCalvin.
Hi, good morning.
Name and address, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jamie Lagerhausen. I live at 4730 Burnett. My wife and I live there between Moore Park and Camarillo in the eye of the hurricane, so to speak.
1 minute.
We've lived there in a neighborhood that would be directly impacted by the Toscano project for over 8 years as a homeowner and 6 years before that as a renter. Needless to say, we are very familiar with the neighborhood and surrounding area. During the last 12 years, we've watched as traffic conditions on Sepulveda Boulevard, north and south of Ventura Boulevard, have worsened. It is no wonder the immediate surrounding streets with the surface of congestion and traffic that go along with the following. The busy traffic from the Galleria, southbound entrance to the 101 freeway from Sepulveda Boulevard, a northbound exit from the 101 freeway onto Sepulveda Boulevard, a southbound entrance to the 405 freeway from Ventura Boulevard, a southbound exit from the 405 and 101 freeways onto Ventura Boulevard, a northbound exit from the 405 freeway onto Sepulveda Boulevard, and a northbound entrance to the 105 and 101 freeways, 405 onto Sepulveda Boulevard, plus all the other cut-through traffic from Kester and Ventura Boulevard trying to get to past traffic lights on the way to the freeway entrances. If you feel my last point on the cut-through traffic is unsubstantiated, take a look at how much revenue the city enjoys from traffic tickets from southbound traffic on Kester turning into westbound on Camarillo during the hours of 7 and 9. They have a sign posted and people still can't help themselves from turning into the neighborhood. If the current traffic condition was not already so dense, I'm sure the city would not have gone through the trouble and expense of putting up the no-turning sign. The volume is so high it is not uncommon to see 2 police cars and traffic cops posted up, issuing a multitude of revenue-generating traffic tickets. Let's look at some of the facts. Camarillo and Sepulveda is already a heavily used entrance and exit point for the Galleria. In the morning and afternoon hours, Sepulveda is bumper to bumper, north and south of Ventura Boulevard. In fact, if you stand at the corner of Camarillo and Sepulveda looking north, traffic is bumper to bumper as far as the eye can see. I cannot imagine these 2 traffic congested streets servicing another traffic-heavy structure, let alone one exceeding current height and density laws.
This concludes.
As you are aware, there's actually a reason these laws are and restrictions are put in place.
You can submit your written statement to Nick if you would.
Okay. Well, basically, I want you to consider the impact on the surrounding neighborhood that the height and density variance for the Toscano projects will have. As stated, I'm not against property development. However, I feel that such a development in the area that is already heavily congested should fall within the current and height density restrictions. After all, my neighbors and I will have to live with the byproduct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Andy Spiegelman, please just state your name and your address.
My name is Andy Spilkeman. I live at 15131 Lameda Street, Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
The gentleman before me stated very well the traffic problem in our neighborhood. I live on Lameda Street. I have speed bumps on my street. The cars come down my street so fast they almost get airborne at times, even though there's 15-mile-per-hour signs posted. I've actually come here for help. I can't even park in front of my own house. It's posted 2-hour parking. Most of my neighborhood has residential permit parking. I've been trying to get that for my street, but I've been told it's not possible. There's all kinds of laws and rules. It seems to me that this project is going to happen. I hope you don't let the variances happen, but I would ask that maybe you could help the neighbors out a little bit and help us with a little bit of a variance so we can have some permit parking on our street, because already the Galleria employees are parking on Camarillo Street. They park on my street on the weekend. And when this project goes in, it's going to be a mess. So I know it's going to happen, but maybe the neighbors could get a little bit of consideration, or variance as you guys call it, and you could help us out.
Thank you very much. It's very important, your testimony. That's the reason we asked people to come forward. Andy, oh no, that's Sheila. Please state your name and your address. You have 1 minute.
My name is Sheila Schweik. My address is 15235 Morrison Street, Sherman Oaks, California. I'm a block and a half away from this. It will be a disaster. The traffic going southbound on Sepulveda Boulevard to get on the freeway now drives on the wrong side of the street in order to avoid the traffic. It takes me at times 45 minutes to get out of my house to Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevard because of the traffic. This project is only going to increase that threefold. The air we breathe is bad. The fire department can't get through. I don't know what, I just don't know what's going on in this city. There is no regard to anything besides builders and the money that they pay to finance campaigns, I guess. But I can't park in front of my house now because of small apartment buildings on Sepulveda Boulevard. It's just, this is very poorly thought out.
All right, thank you very much. Jeffrey Colvin and then Maria Colvin, or Calvin. Aileen Michael Henderson and Rob Anderson.
Hi, I'm Jeff Calvin, 4737 Burnett Avenue, Sherman Oaks. The proposed Il Villagio Toscano project violates a specific plan, requesting exceptions to density, height, site coverage, etc. The developer asked these exceptions from the city without proposing traffic mitigations. Currently, the site is zoned R1-1L, R3-1L, QP-1L, and QCR-1L. The request is to rezone to C2, Height District 2D. There are no findings that can justify that grade of variance from the specific plan. Throughout the public process, the developer has never demonstrated a specific plan compliant project and why they deserve exceptions to it. Alternative uses should include Class A office space, a specific plan approved retail. The alternate proposal for big box retail violates the specific plan. The request for height variance to allow 100 feet in lieu of the specific plan 75 feet is rationalized by the desire to see above the 26-foot high freeway adjacent wall. The project's first residential floor sits upon a 26-foot high podium of parking and retail. Therefore, every occupied floor has the potential to see above the freeway wall. The proposed project burdens the community with unmitigated traffic, overbearing height, and too much site coverage. Is there an appropriate development for the site? Of course there is, but this is not the project as proposed. Please direct the applicant to restudy and resubmit a more fitting project for this site in Sherman Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maria Calvin.
My name is Maria Calvin at 4737 Burnett Avenue in Sherman Oaks. In the 80s, after a city-imposed moratorium on building in the Ventura corridor, city officials wrote the specific plan as a compromise between development and the community's infrastructure limitations. No matter how much some people wish to ignore the facts of the specific plan's finding, it remains true that Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevards cannot be widened. Therefore, until such time that our infrastructure limitations change, every development should conform to the specific plan. The developer of Toscano presents a development that obliterates the specific plan and offers no reason for a development that doubles the density, increases the height to 100 feet, and shows no concern for the traffic it generates. Their idea of a compromise, it's not starting from what they're allowed and asking for a little more, but starting at 500 units and hoping people would think that 399 units is a compromise.
Please conclude.
A smaller Toscano is better for all of us. If we don't hold Toscano to the specific plan, we lose the ability to hold any developer in the future to these requirements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aileen Michael Henderson. Rob Anderson.
Oh. My name is Kevin Long. I'm going to speak on behalf of Eileen Michael Henderson. I have a card.
Please. Oh, you have. Okay, you're going to speak on behalf of Aileen?
Yes.
She left. Who wrote the name? Who wrote the speaker card?
I wrote mine and Eileen wrote hers, such that if she left before she could speak, I would speak on her behalf.
Say your name and your address.
Kevin Long, 14718 Valley Vista Boulevard, Sherman Oaks, 91403. I'm speaking on behalf of Eileen Michael Henderson, 4625 Halbert Avenue, Sherman Oaks, 91403. When the Galleria and Galleria apartments went in, we, meaning the neighborhood directly to the east of this location, were assured that the impact to the neighborhood was not going to be significant. This was an outright lie, which took our neighborhood 5 years of arguing with the city council to put in preferential parking and change the operating hours of meters just so that we could get the Galleria employees and customers and the Sepulveda Place tenants who now couldn't park on Sepulveda Boulevard because the Galleria apartment tenants and their visitors took this parking out of the neighborhood so that we could park in front of our own homes. 399 apartments mean at least 399 cars, probably more like 600 to 798 cars, as most families and couples own 2 cars. Add to this the people visiting these tenants, the employees and customers of the new grocery and retail stores going into this new proposed complex, and you're adding a surplus of thousands of cars each day to the intersections of Sepulveda and Camarillo and Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevard, which is already impacted on a daily basis. One need only look at Camarillo on any given day to see just how much the Galleria and the Galleria apartments are still impacting this area on streets that don't have preferential parking, to realize how much this new complex will add to this already existing problem. There is a time when logic needs to come into play, and that time is now. As the city has no means of correcting the current congestion problem that already exists on Sepulveda at the proposed location, or the gridlock at Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevard, and has no way of diverting drivers that need to travel on Sepulveda to get to the Ventura and San Diego freeways or the Galleria and Galleria apartments, it truly makes no sense for the city to even consider any proposal where hundreds of units are going to be built, which only serve to further congest this already problem area.
Thank you very much. Bob Anderson, Jamie Lacker-Henson, Richard Mayer.
My name is Bob Anderson.
Bob Anderson.
4050 Woodcliff Road, Sherman Oaks. I'm also a member of the board of directors of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners. The IVT project is imposing untenable additional traffic noise and environmental challenges to the Sherman Oaks residents. The EIR should not be approved. The updated traffic analysis in the final EIR does not clarify whether the value for net project trips per day, 5844, was recalculated between the draft EIR and the final EIR to account for the reduction from 500 to 399 units and for possible changes to the 51 related projects used to determine the impacts. Therefore, the traffic analysis corrections and additions in the final EIR are not consistent with the 399 unit IVT project. The traffic analysis needs to be completely redone and updated. The project should be downsized to alleviate the challenges it causes. Remove the top 2 stories of IVT's residential structure, eliminating 101 residential units, lowering the maximum height from 100 feet to near 75 feet, and bringing the floor area ratio somewhat closer to 1.50 maximum specified in the plan. And lastly, in all cases like this, not just IVT, to help the community understand what a project really is and whether it meets the plan or not, all developers and this developer should be required to plan an alternate project that fully meets the specific plan in addition to the base project they project. Then the community can compare between an approved plan that meets the specific plan and a project that does not, and see what the value of the additions are or the challenges of the additions are. Right now the community can't understand that, and that should be a change in the planning department to force that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jamie Lacker-Henson, Richard Mayer, and then Jessica Gottlieb.
Good morning. My name is Richard Mayer. I'm the former member of the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. I'm a landscape architect, and I'm currently the chair of the Community Forest Advisory Committee, which is a commission for the city. I'm against this project. I think it has way too many exceptions attached to it. The FAR, the height, the site coverage, vacated streets, rezoning, it's one issue after another that is so extreme. And finally, I want to say that the EIR is not providing the decision makers in this process with the proper information. I think that the aspects of sound, the aspects of air quality, and the aspect of traffic have not been properly addressed to give decision makers proper information to make the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica Gottlieb. I'm at 4707 Noble Avenue, and I live and work within the shadow of this project. I just wanted to know, my neighbors have really said everything that needs to be said, but I've been at all of these meetings, and I've been outside of these meetings, which is the place that you guys are really missing. And what's happening is that as you're walking in, that, I don't know, assistants or whatever they are, but folks that are working towards having this project are asking people to come and sign their petition to approve the project and they're like, oh, I don't know. And then they're saying, oh, don't worry, just come sit down in the meeting and hear it out, but sign this. And I want to add that the folks that are here in support of this project are here on their company dime. I make a shit ton per an hour and I'm missing making my money. I'm sitting here because this is more important to me than my work today. I spent my life savings on my house to keep all I want to do is maintain the neighborhood. I would love to see a great project in there. This is not a great project. And all of the marketing that's coming at us every single day via Facebook, Twitter, flyers being handed off at our door say, that there's an eyesore in the neighborhood. Guess who created the eyesore? So they come in, they destroy a section of the neighborhood. It wasn't great, granted, but there were houses there. There was something more than dust. And now they're terrifying the neighbors by saying, oh, if you don't, work with us to get this enormous, untenable project approved, that that you're going to live with sawdust and sand in our neighborhood. That's not true.
Okay, thank you very much. Sue Sager. Your name and address and.
Sue Steinberg, 4707 Burnett Avenue. I'm here just reiterating everything my neighbors have said. I think they said it very well, and I don't need to repeat it. We would like to see something there. This is not the project we'd like to see there, that we think would work there. Secondly, I would like to give you 24 letters from my neighbors who are not able to be here today because they work. And I'll give them to Nick. And lastly, my son asked me to tell you this. He's 13 and had to go to school today, so he was very sad he couldn't come. But his concern, he said, is the traffic and cut-through traffic that we're already getting on our streets. My street, Burnett Avenue, already has 37 kids there right now. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have streetlights. This is a very dangerous area with all the cut-through traffic that we've been getting. As Sepulveda backs up, as Kester backs up, as more and more development happens in our area, obviously the traffic has to find a way through. So they use our streets for cut-through. So our concern, and my son's concern, is his friends, his neighbors, his cohorts, as they're playing on the street, that they not get run over. So that has not been brought up. We thought we would. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have two last speaker cards. These two individuals are in favor, so they will be given 1 minute. Bart Red. Not here. Jeffrey Hartzell. Not here. All right.
I think he's. Do you have general comment cards?
Yes, we haven't finished. Say your name and address, please.
Sure, I'm Bart Reed, box 567, San Fernando, California, 91341. I'm in support of this project. This project is a much different project than a typical project that this is entitled to this area. This project is a residential project, not a office building project. The traffic that is being spoken about is more compounded if this is an office building, because it's the same people arriving at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 5. If this is a residential project, just like the developer's other project on Ventura Boulevard, where 20% of the people actually walk to work, this gives an opportunity to A, walk to work and to use public transit, as there's 7 public transit lines within about a quarter mile of this project. So people do have an option and a choice. So this is a different kind of project, because the people that are living at this project would be leaving about 6 to 6:30 in the morning if they're going to jobs in West LA, to downtown Los Angeles, to Chatsworth, and other parts of the city. The same thing if they're getting off their jobs at 5 o'clock in Beverly Hills, downtown, or not, they're not going to be getting back to the community till around 7 o'clock. So it actually disperses the traffic. It doesn't densify or intensify the traffic, so it becomes an advantage to this community. That's pretty much my point.
Thank you very much.
And I have a paper to submit.
Please. We have one general comment, speaker card, David Rumble.
Good morning, gentlemen. After hearing the comments today, I've changed my position from general to opposed.
So you are opposed to the project?
Now I am opposed, yes, you can mark me as opposed, given the community input that I've just heard. The project is too large for the site. It's not a compatible use with that location. You just have to go back and see what we had there before: single-family homes, a few apartments, and a commercial office building. That was compatible, that worked, when it worked, and that was obviously before the Northridge earthquake. But for us in these troubling times, to give 2 street vacations to Peach Street and Lomeda Street, lose that parking and lose that public open space is really a bad idea. It's great for the developer, but it's really bad for the community. So I'd ask that you deny the project, make the findings that the street vacations should not be issued, and that the height is excessive, height and the number of units. I realize you guys don't have all the authority because you're the deputy advisory agency, but findings along those lines are reasonable and truly protect the general interests of the community. I'd also very much like to hear from Councilman Tom LaBonge's office as to whether they support or oppose this project, because there isn't going to be, as far as I'm concerned, too much new information coming forward on it. It really is just a matter of where the councilman stands, and you've heard from the residents, and you've heard all the concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jonathan, you want to speak after the review? After the applicant answers the issues? Right now? All right. So the rep for the council office.
Good afternoon, Advisory Agency. Jonathan Brennan, Councilman Tom LaBonge's office. I want to thank the previous speaker, David, for setting me up. He wanted to hear what we had to say, and we are here to say it. Now, Councilman LaBonge has obtained this part of the district, Sherman Oaks, through redistricting. So I haven't been here. Well, our office hasn't been here since day one. We've kind of had to pick it up along the way and do some a lot of time invested into understanding what the proposal is, where the community stands, how the different neighborhood councils and associations came to their position. I started attending meetings of the neighborhood council when the boundaries were drawn but not implemented yet. So it's been a very interesting process. I've gotten to know a lot of people in the community, and it's really been a pleasure to do that. Now, we've received hundreds of emails, in excess of 250, I haven't counted. I want to thank everybody for showing up, taking their time out of their workday to be here. I did talk to someone just before she had to leave. She was a teacher, took off 2 periods during the day from middle school. You know, it's a lot of commitment. This is not an after-hours meeting, and it means that this is an important case. Because I've done a lot of hearings, a lot of different variances, whether it's a subdivision, whether it's a specific plan exception, and if it's a big deal, people show up, and if it's not, people don't show up. In this case, it's indeed a big deal. And I have received so many emails. I have not had a chance to respond to everyone, but I have looked over and read everyone. Whether they are in opposition or in support, the majority are in opposition. A lot of the emails are handcrafted. People are speaking from their heart, from what they believe. It's not just some form email with that's been copied and pasted and sent through. So people have been taking time, and I have heard a lot of testimony similar to what you hear today. Now, So that's just one thing. Now, from my observations, I've seen traffic in this area, and this is one of the, well, it's one of the most, on the freeway, the 101 and the 405 intersection is one of the most traffic-ridden and challenging intersections. Over the years, they've improved the interchange from 405 northbound to 101 eastbound. They're fixing the 405, building amazing retaining walls. I don't know what it's going to do, but they're doing it. Sepulveda gets backed up all the way from Burbank. When I live in town, when I come over to Hill, I get off at Burbank on the 405. I'm lucky I'm not going in that direction. I see Sepulveda backed up, Valley Vista, Beverly Glen. I've seen it. It's there. The traffic, this is probably the worst part of the valley in traffic, and definitely the most trafficy part of Sherman Oaks, especially in the morning. Now, you know, that needs to be addressed. Now, we need to see, and I just don't know how the findings are going to be made to get to the point, the case, is what are the justifications for the height and the density? We have a specific plan. It's been implemented years ago. If you live in the neighborhood or if you own property, you know what the specific plan is. And, you know, that should be a baseline of what the project should be. If there are minor exceptions that are asked to make the project better, that is something that we'll definitely consider. But the top-down thing, this is what I want, and this is what the deviations are, it is a challenge. There's been numerous, you know, prior to working for Councilman Bonge, I worked for Councilman Zine. We've done many projects on Ventura Boulevard, and, you know, some do ask for exceptions. And some received it, but they were exceptions that made a project better, and they took into light what the specific plan was, and they worked from that. Very minor type things. Parapet, setback, height, density, a little bit. Not massive exceptions. This is what's being asked for now. Also, the way the councilman sees it, when it comes to density, and when it comes to transit-oriented development, what transit-oriented development is development by either a metro stop, fixed rail line, or the orange line counts, because that's a dedicated busway. That's where you get the discretionary rider. That's where young people want to live. A bus stop, a bus has to sit in traffic with everybody else still. Whether it's rapid or whether it's the orange, you know, the local bus. The discretionary rider, and it says in the EIR, only affects a few percent. The discretionary rider does not take the bus. They will drive, and when you're charging a lot for units and you're in a nice building, people will be driving. Now, some of my cohorts that are younger than I, single people, even people with my age with young families, they want to live in this type of building if it's adjacent to like a red line stop, Hollywood Highland, Vermont and Sunset. That is where, and they could take it to places and walk and really be involved. But what they don't want to do is sit on the bus with the rest of people in their cars trying to get to where they need to work. It's just going to take even longer. Public transportation has to be a benefit. It has to make it easy. It has to make it easier to get from point A to point B. Currently, the buses along Sepulveda, buses on Ventura, they don't do that. It still takes longer. So to say that it's by transit, not just yet. Maybe one day we'll tunnel through the 405. I wish that it passed, Measure R, and the voters supported that, but it didn't happen. We're not there yet. Now, the question is, well, what do you want here? The EIR did analyze projects that were compliant with the specific plan. There's an all retail and all residential. Is that going to be appropriate for a site? I don't know. I think mixed use on a scale is appropriate, because we do have a mix of uses and we do have people walking, and but the scale that's being asked is just too high. Now, we have looked, and I have done some of the calculations, I don't know how exact they are, but something in line more, or in line with the recommendations from the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, which has submitted a letter, seems like a better idea for this site. Seems like something that will be less impactful for the community, involve mixed use, and as I did the calculations, it would still require a specific plan exception for density, not for height, but a much more modest one. And that's something that should be looked at. There should be some credit given for mixed use, as residential square footage has a different traffic impact than retail square footage. In addition, I don't think anybody wants to see an all retail or an all residential building at this location. So that's something that needs to be looked at, and that's the direction that the council office is heading. Mixed-use project at a lower density. This is almost twice of what the FAR is. It's just, I don't see the justification for it. Now, I do have a few other questions, or another recommendation. You know, some more technical stuff might not interest the people behind me, but I think it's worthy of discussion. I'd like to understand more about the track map with the air rights. I'm just not sure what that means. Are they? I know they're building into condo specs in regard to the parking. Does that mean the map is for each of the condos? Just a little more clarification. What the 9 aerospace units mean? Does it help parking? I think that's just some details that might not concern people behind me, but should be addressed. Now, the zones here at this location are totally antiquated. You have a couple R1 properties, you have some P. It's completely antiquated. It's not in line, in keeping with the general plan or with the specific plan what calls for over here. So the zone change is appropriate. It's what is going to be conditioned, what the project is. In addition, the grocery store is asking for alcohol use, and we like to look at alcohol uses carefully. And we haven't really got involved with that because everybody's been caught up with the exceptions to the plan. So maybe perhaps between now and when we get to commission, we'd like to see conditions for grocery stores that are standard type of alcohol operating conditions. I don't see alcohol sales at a grocery store, especially at the